what you're good at, confidence resumes. It goes back to the confidence resumes and being able to point back to some of your successes, especially when you need it, which, by the way, that can be hard to do when you're struggling, because you might have some tunnel vision of that time when you're struggling. But
For sure.
confidence resume is very, very important to go back to if you are struggling.
Yeah, we used to do, we did this in a couple of different ways, but if you have a team training environment, two like really good confidence boosters for your team is, because you're gonna have internal confidence, right? How confident am I as Cassie, and then how confident am I in my team and being a part of it? Those sometimes are separate. So if you have a team, we had like a folder of confidence resume stuff, but this would be, you can draw a house on a whiteboard, make it super simple, and you say, okay, I'm building a house based on a foundation of confidence, and everyone gets a sticky note or 3 sticky notes, whatever it is, and you say, why is this team earn the right to be confident? And they write something down. Our team has elite speed. Boom. Yeah. You put it down. And then, well, why else? Our coaching staff never stops researching ways for us to get better. Another person, and all of a sudden you have 15 girls on your team. Each person does 2 or it starts to become contagious, and it steamrolls. You're finding all these reasons you deserve to be confident. You can do the same thing internally. And I think what was so shocking and eye-opening to our coaching staff and even to ourselves as individuals, my senior year, we were at the time ranked number 2 in the country. Someone said, we did an activity where you wrote great things about Cassie at the top. That's what I wrote down on my page. And then we passed it to the person next to us. And the person next to us got to write all these great things. I got the one from Amanda Locke sitting next to me. I wrote down all these great things about her, why she deserved to be confident, why she's earned the right to be confident, blah, 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 blah. And it feels good. You pass around enough times, you have all these, like, you start to feel really good. Like, man, like, look at how everyone else feels. And then you get your paper back, and you're supposed to flip it over, and you say, okay, real quick, before you finish reading all this, you tell me in your own words why you have earned the right to be confident in yourself. Go. And number two team in the country, we were sitting there like it was hard. It was hard for us to do it. And like, this goes back to, like, I don't know, guys.
It's like whisper down the lane, right?
It was, yeah. And it was shocking. I think our coaches were like, you realize you're the number 2 team in the country, but instead it was so crazy because we focus on our own failures so much more. They're going to reign so much louder in our head. We're going to remember what it feels like way more. It's going to make that lasting imprint on us. Yet when we watch someone else's failures, we're constantly telling them, like, hey, no big deal, on to the next one. And we're so proud of their successes, but we sometimes forget to be really proud of our own successes too. So it took a little while but to like really sit through that discomfort of being like, I, Cassie, have earned the right to be confident because, and you start writing, all of a sudden to see it in your own personal handwriting, it was way more empowering than to see anyone else's handwriting. And it's probably teaching a way better point of like, hey, you shouldn't have to feel validated by anyone else's belief in you. This is your personal belief in you. So again, talk about struggling, not having a tough time visualizing, needing to go back to read something. Whenever your team has a rain out, or it's like, instead of just canceling practice, maybe you make everyone hop on a Zoom and this is what you do instead. Because would you rather have a perfect swing, or would you rather get up to the plate with an imperfect swing, but have this badass confidence in that imperfect swing?
I would choose B, but our mind always goes to the negative. Our mind is, I think, inherent, and people don't want to admit this, but I think your mind, anybody's mind, any athlete's mind, for number one, or any performer, number one, insecure, number two, inherently negative.
Yes,
right? When you think about
so.
it, and I mean, I'm again not scientifically, maybe it is scientifically proven, I don't know, but I didn't do that level of research. But I think the human mind is for whatever reason inherently negative, and that's tougher on performers, tougher on athletes, because then there's that insecurity that's involved as well. And you made a great point there. Number 2 team in the nation, and you can't find much positive from that, right? I mean, that's kind of mind-blowing to me. But when you factor in that the mind is inherently negative, it makes more sense.
And it was almost at that point, because we were number 2, because we were expected to do so well, because we were supposed to win the national championship, we're trying to fight for this. Every failure just seemed so much louder. Every loss was so much bigger. It was, oh my gosh, we just let our town down. Oh my gosh, we just let, whatever it may be. I don't think any of us realized that it had gotten to us that badly, because again, you're constantly like picking someone else up. And then all of a sudden you force yourself to look inward and be like, okay, shoot, and I think I've talked about this, but The Power of Habit, that book where he talked about just how our brain will operate in cycles, right? We operate in habits whether we like it or not. And negative
Yeah.
self-talk is a choice until it turns into a habit where we kind of can't stop it. It's just our automatic response to something. So, if we hear one negative thing about us, it takes three positives to usually negate that one negative.
Mhm.
And, I it's no wonder that we can't get all these positives and still don't feel anything positive or like a huge boost from it, because our own negative self-talk has probably put us in the hole so
Yeah.
far. To even receive anything it's difficult sometimes.